Hello everyone, my name is Emily and I'm currently locked on to a steel pipe that's been concreted into the edge of the railway line that brings in and out coal from the biggest coal port in the world. I'm on Worimi and ecological country in Newcastle and would like to acknowledge the struggles of all First Nations people on this continent fighting against extractivism, exploitation and corruption since colonisation. The reason I'm doing this, I'm sure you're all pretty aware, is that we are living in catastrophic climate collapse. I'm 24 years old, and I think that's a little bit too young to be feeling grief for the life supports of this planet. But I feel that grief every single day, and it is a really fucking heavy burden to carry. So I'm here, lying on a railway track. There's a banner next to me that says "Stop the Machine, Blockade Australia." Yeah, my arm is deep inside a pipe. It's a little bit scary, but I guess the scariest thing is having the information about what's happening to our planet and our world, watching ecological systems collapse, social systems along with them. So I'd love if you all tuned in for a little while and stayed here with me. I think it's going to be a pretty brief live stream because the police will be on their way, and as soon as they get here they'll grab the phone and I'll end the stream. But if you do have the time, I would really appreciate if you just hung out here, gave me your presence, and listened to what I have to say, understand why I'm doing this. So thank you for watching. Again, I'm on Worimi and ecological country. It's really beautiful out here. I'll show you around a little bit. So I'm on the railway, lying down here. My banner is just here. It reads, "Stop the Machine." And what I mean by that, when I say the machine, I'm talking about Australia, right? Like, Australia isn't the name of this continent. Australia isn't a label for these lands and waters, for country. Australia is a conglomeration of powerful institutions that have been meticulously designed to exploit First Peoples, to exploit the land, to oppress peoples, and to destroy this earth. The Australian system is predicated on the illusion of infinite growth, on the idea that it can continue to expand and expand and expand, and although it's a pretty classic line, we all know that infinite growth isn't possible on an finite planet. So I'm here under the banner of a movement called Blockade Australia. I am the 16th person to put my life on the line, to get in the way in a targeted disruption of the world's biggest coal port here in Newcastle. There's been some incredible actions that have happened over the past couple of days. People have climbed pylons and trees. People have locked on to various rail infrastructure points. People have climbed onto coal trains, thrown coal onto the tracks. What we're trying to do here is effectively demonstrate weaknesses in a system that is designed to not present any. Any institution of Western modernity, Australia being a primary example, as I said, is predicated on this idea of constant growth. As long as it keeps moving, as long as it keeps growing, as long as it keeps developing, we can't see its flaws, and it acts to consume absolutely everything that there is. With targeted and sustained disruption of some of the key choke points in our economic, social and political systems, what we're able to do is demonstrate the weaknesses of this system create little tiny cracks in the illusion of what Australia is and make room for alternatives to thrive. That's why I'm here, arm down a pipe. A little bit afraid. To be honest, I'm more afraid of doing this live stream and speaking to the camera than I am about what's going to happen when the cops get here. I've been nervous about it for days, but I think I'm doing okay. Thanks for all the beautiful comments. I'm actually quite comfortable. I'm lying on a yoga mat and I've been really cold the past few hours, so it's nice to be in the sun. I'll show you around the other side. There's my banner. Stop the machine. Hello again. So if you think that my actions are extreme, if you think that this is crazy or too radical, then I don't think you're paying attention. Because what we're facing at the moment, if you pay attention, if you do a little bit of reading, if you understand, is the collapse of all life as we know it. This planet has given us everything, right? It has given us every breath we'll ever take. It's given us every story that we know. It's given us all of the beauty that we've ever experienced. And yet, we're building and continuing to build institutions, structures, and systems that are not compatible with this planet. And they're killing us. And we know this, like it's not some future catastrophe that we're afraid of, you know, maybe our great-grandchildren will get hurt. This is happening here and now. It's happening to me, it's happening to you. And every single one of us knows it. And I know that every single person watching this knows deep down how severe this is. And it's terrifying. Like, it's terrifying to think about that. It's terrifying to sit with that, but we have to, right? We have to realize how dangerous our situation is. We have to realize the severity of this. My invitation to you, if you support what I'm doing, if you're sending me nice comments and all those love hearts that are coming through, I appreciate the support. But what I'd really ask of you, every single one of you, is to take a moment, sit in that grief, have a think about it, step back from the constant movement, sit in stasis for just a second or a minute, open yourself up to the grief that every single one of us is experiencing for ourselves, our people, our communities, our planet. Feel that grief and allow it to propel you into action. Because if 16 people over 8 days can shut down the world's biggest coal port, make front page news, get major decision makers talking about us, imagine what hundreds of us could do, imagine what thousands, millions of us could do. And this isn't something that you can rely on all the radical people out there to do for you. This is something that we need every single person to be engaged in. If you're just tuning in, hello, my name is Emily, and I'm lying in the middle of 2 different train tracks that are the major import and export line for the world's biggest coal port. I'm in Newcastle on Wallamai and Awabakal country, and I'm pretty terrified about what's coming next. And I'm not referring to the police, who are probably on their way pretty soon. I'm referring to the collapse of our life support systems. And that's a fear that I live through every single day. So this movement, we're called Blockade Australia, right? Might sound kind of whack, but not if you understand what Australia actually means. Australia isn't the name of this landmass. Australia isn't country. Australian isn't land or water. Australia is the name of a system of institutions, corrupt politicians, and just dysfunctional structures that has been imposed on these lands and these waters since the point of colonization. First Nations people have been resisting Australia since it began, and this fight is for them. As a settler person from a colonial background, as a white person, it's well within my capacity to put my body on the line like this, and I will do that as many times as I have to until we can actually put the brakes on this thing. The more that I read, the more that I learn about the way that this system is set up, the more that I study the institutions of modernity and the functions of Australia, the more I understand that we are driving, or we are riding, in a vehicle without a kill switch that has been designed to not have a kill switch, that is barreling us towards total climate collapse, and it's up to us to put on the brakes. So maybe lying on some train tracks will make a little tiny dent in that system. Maybe I'll crack open this idea that if Australia keeps churning, everything's going to be okay. And even if that's just for a second today, we've done this for a week, you know, that's not long in the scheme of things, but maybe we can get something started. Maybe we can encourage a few of you to get in the way and join us. Really appreciate your attention, and I'm so grateful for every single one of you who's taking time. The police have arrived. They're walking over to me now. I'm locked on and I'm not going to leave. They've been treating protesters this week pretty hectically, so hoping that doesn't happen to me, that anything that I go through today, anything that this experience provides, is nothing compared to what is coming. So what I'd ask of you before I go, again, sit with it. Listen to the information that's out there, pay attention to what's happening, and understand your own autonomy and your capacity to step in and make a difference. If you're able to sit with those emotions and that grief and everything that you can feel, just for a second or a minute, do it for me, do it for all the people out there, do it for whatever reason, for your own life, for the life of your community, for the atmosphere that we're all breathing. Whatever reason you're doing it, feel that grief, sit in it, and allow that to propel you into action. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to show you where I am and what's happening. And if you're interested in joining us, if you'd like to be upskilled, if you'd like to learn how to be engaged in this stuff and you're unsure, if you're strong enough, if you're brave enough, you can be. And there are so many people out there who will show you the way. So next June 27th in Sydney, Blockade Australia is moving to the major political and social centre of this country. And we're going to shut it down. And I sincerely hope that every single one of you is able to make the time in whatever capacity you have to join us there and help us blockade Australia. Again, I would like to acknowledge that I'm on Warramai and Awabakal country, that this is stolen land, that these coal tracks are running through stolen land and continue to extract and exploit First Nations people and the ecological communities around us. I'd like to acknowledge that Indigenous people Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and First Nations people across the world have been resisting Australia since its inception. I'm following their lead, walking with and behind First Nations peoples and fighting for this planet because this planet is everything that we've got. What I want from you is your action. Thank you so much for watching. We've got first responders here now. They're not the police. I'm not sure if they'll take the phone off me. Sorry, I'm a bit jolty. I've just got one hand. Again, my banner reads, "Stop the machine," which feels pretty staunch. And I was pretty stoked when I found it. What I mean by the machine is Australia. And Australia is a system that is designed meticulously to be corrupt, to be exploitative, to expand to this point of illusory singularity, and to be extractive of our Earth's resources. You know, we're well beyond the point where we need fossil fuel powered energy. We know this. This has been true for decades. The only reason that we continue to charge down this path is that the system is designed to be self-perpetuating. It's an endless cycle. It fulfills itself constantly. And if you have illusions in your mind that perhaps there is such a thing as change within the system, that we can just vote in a better government, pull in better policy, maybe we'll wait for a climate election, then you clearly haven't been paying attention. My entire adult life, I've been fighting for change within the system. Now I understand that that's not possible. It doesn't exist. Any idea of change within the system is an illusion. And it's there effectively as a move to innocence, which allows us to step back from actually utilizing our autonomy and getting in the way of a system that we can break down if we want to. Yeah, they're fossil fuels. Fools. Thank you so much for your support. It looks like they're not going to come up to me, so I've got a little bit longer to chat, which is nice. So glad to have you all here. I'll show you around again. Coal trains, hey? Some golfers over there. They don't know what's going on. That's okay, they can have their fun. Here's the first responders, so these are employees from the rail company. There's my banner. Can't really see it. We got a couple photos. It reads, "Stop the machine," referring to the institution that is Australia. If you're just tuning in now, I'll repeat myself again. I really appreciate your presence and your attention while I go through this experience. You know, this live stream doesn't do anything to blockade Australia or stop the coal industry. This live stream is here to get your attention. And if you support what I'm doing, I would appreciate if you retain that attention for the extent of the time that I'm here. I'm locked on to a steel pipe. It's been concreted into the edge of a railway, blocking with my body the biggest coal port in the entire world, in Newcastle. I'm on Ecological and Warramai country and really want to pay my respects to the fight and the survival of First Nations people on this continent. I'm here under the banner of Blockade Australia. When we talk about Australia, we're talking about the corrupt political system, the expansive economic system, the extractive movements that cause us to label life and beings as resources or ecosystem services. This is a system that is destroying life as we know it and that's not an exaggeration, right? It's a system that needs to be stopped. A guy just pulled up and said out of the window, "You are a dumb bitch." Pretty funny. I guess he doesn't have any idea. It's pretty remarkable. But I understand that people are conditioned to not understand the system. I'm getting distracted because this guy's talking about me. I scared them off. Alright. Maybe it sounds dramatic. Maybe it sounds overly emotive. But if you do a little bit of research, if you pay attention to what's happening in our world, you understand the severity of our situation. Around us, life support systems are collapsing. I'm not going to bother you with details, but Australia, this institution, has a massive role to play in what's happening. We have the highest carbon emissions per capita of any country on this earth. We are one of the biggest coal exporters. We have the second highest rate of biodiversity loss and the #1 rate of mammal extinction. We're a driver of global deforestation. We're pumping exploitative and extractive industries over and over and over again. So I'm part of a movement of people that decided to strategically and carefully disrupt the machine of Australia, hit the brakes ourselves on a system that was built without any. It was built to be constantly perpetuating its own message, to be constantly fulfilling its own power hierarchies, to be constantly accumulating capital, extracting wealth from our earth at the expense of every single one of our lives. We're calling it Blockade Australia. We'd really, really appreciate your involvement. So from here, next up is Sydney, 27th of June. We're going to begin very careful, sustained and targeted disruption. If you support what I'm doing, if you're worried about climate collapse, if you're afraid of the suffering and death that we're going to witness in our lifetimes, that we already are witnessing, then come and join us. It's not scary. It's a bit scary. It's a lot scarier what's coming. And we need your help. The system, its strength and its power is an illusion. Actions like this, direct action, like what I'm undertaking today, putting my body on the line, is an effective and strategic way to disrupt major points of power in our world. And power, you know, can be construed in many ways. It has many forms. It can be social, economic, political, whatever. The biggest coal port in the world, one of Australia's biggest exports, is a major centre of power in this country. Me lying here, I don't know how long it'll take them to get me out. I don't think they're gonna get me out for a couple of hours. I'm hoping not. I'll disrupt the coal port for a couple of hours. Who knows what's gonna happen from now on, I'm not sure. But I would really appreciate your support in this movement and for you to join us in Sydney in June. I've got a man coming up to me now. The police are here now. I'm going to turn this live stream off pretty soon because I don't want the police here. I thought about gluing it to my hand, but then my glue exploded in my pocket. My favourite pants. So that's not an option anymore. But that's okay. They're taking their time. If you're just tuning in now, hi. My name is Emily. I am locked on to a steel pipe that's been concreted into the railway track for Australia's biggest coal port and the biggest coal port on this earth. Part of a movement called Blockade Australia. What we're doing is targeting centres of power in this country in order to hit the brakes on a destructive system that is exploiting this planet and this planet's life support systems at the expense of all life. All of it. That's yours, that's mine, everyone's. The idea is the machine that is Australia has been very carefully designed. It's not a flawed system, it's not a flawed political system that's preventing change. This is a system that has been perfectly designed to continue to perpetuate hierarchies of power, to continue to facilitate and fast-track extraction, to oppress peoples, land, and water. And this is a system that, as long as it is dynamic, as long as it keeps moving, as long as it powers on forward, we'll continue to do all these things. We'll continue to destroy our Earth. By getting in the way, what I'm doing is forcing this system to put the brakes on. Forcing the system, just for a second, to halt. In moments of stillness, when the machine stops turning, in moments of stillness, we can take a breath. And all of those little cracks in the illusion of infinite growth, in the illusion of Australia, in the illusion of our economic system, of our political system, those little cracks that are real, that are there, that are obvious if you just look closely. In moments of stillness like these, those cracks grow. Inside of those cracks, we find room for alternatives. We understand that there are other ways to live. There are other ways to be this planet, to be with this planet, to be of this planet, to be this planet. That we can live relationally with the earth rather than putting ourselves in this imaginary hierarchy that allows us to continue to extract from it, to exploit people, to oppress people. Australia is a system of violence and exploitation. And unless people like us get in the way of it and realize what's going on and realize that we have the capacity to stop it, it's not slowing down. So I'm here, lying on a fucking railway track, having a pretty good time at the moment, getting used to seeing myself on camera, watching the cops and the railway workers over there, sitting next to a banner that reads, "Stop the Machine," as a part of Blockade Australia. Putting my body on the line. A few years ago I would have thought this was a little bit too extreme. I would have been terrified, very surprised at the prospect that I'd be engaging in something like this, but it's accessible. Action like this is accessible, it's valuable, and it's necessary. You know, if you have any understanding of what's happening on our Earth, which you all do, people know what's going on. They don't often think about it, but they certainly know what's going on. If you think about it for just a second, you realize it's a moral necessity for us to get in the way. It's a necessity for our livelihoods. It's a necessity to prevent mass suffering and mass extinction. Australia is a destructive and violent and oppressive machine that is operating at the expense of everything that we know and love. So I guess we're here to blockade Australia. Just gonna flip the camera again. I'm on the railway. First responders are down there. There's some rail workers. One of them's got like a pickaxe, good luck. And there's a few police, but I guess they're waiting for more and maybe some machinery. I have a banner next to me that reads, "Stop the machine." And I'm lying on these rocks, but I have a yoga mat. Sorry. Put the phone down for a second and have some water because I think it's probably going to take my water off me. Just been asked on the page how I'm feeling. I'm actually feeling pretty chill. I don't know what's going to happen when they try and start getting me out of here. They're probably going to try and pull me pretty hard, but I'm attached by my wrist and it's going to hurt. Yeah, I'm feeling remarkably calm. It's like, hold on. When I'm involved in communities like these, when I'm engaged in actions like these, when I'm around change making or even attempts at change making, I feel calm, I feel grounded, I feel centered. Because it's able to just slightly remove some of the suffering, some of the grief, some of what I'm experiencing. Just gonna drink some more water. So again, thank you so much for being here with me and witnessing this. I was pretty nervous about doing this live stream, like so nervous. So much more nervous about this than anything else. But now that I'm here, I feel comfortable. I know what I need to be doing. I have an understanding of the systems that are operating on this earth. I've studied them. Just finished a degree in this stuff. I've witnessed time and time again people searching, begging, hoping for mechanisms of change within the existing system, hoping for climate elections or better politicians or more sustainable policy. But I'm only 24, and even through the extent of my adult life, I've been able to see that those mechanisms don't exist. There is no such thing as change within a system that is predicated on the concept of expansion. We need to engage with the system, shut it down in order to make room for change. Hey, there are coppers here now. They're wearing high vis and COVID masks. I have my vaccine certificates in my bag. Just to not freak them out. Apparently it's illegal to cough on cops now. If you don't agree with what I'm doing, I would ask you to suspend your disbelief. Just do a little bit of digging. Whatever that means, you know? If you're digging inside of yourself to feel the emotions that I know every single one of us has. If it's digging for information, learning a little bit more about what's going on this earth, how these systems operate, how they've been designed to operate. Do a little bit of digging. Suspend your disbelief. Trust me. I'm here putting my life on the line, lying on some fucking train tracks. Would greatly appreciate if you considered the possibility that this system is oppressing you. That life doesn't have to be this way. The mechanisms by which we are operating, institutionally, systematically, structurally, are destroying this planet. And you don't have to look very hard. All around us, there are signs. You know, we have global agreements about this ship and nothing's getting done. Species going extinct, sea levels rising, massive amounts of deforestation of our old growth forests, the continuation of burning of fossil fuels, subsidies, billions of dollars of subsidies given to the fossil fuel industries in this country every year to prop up a corrupt system at the expense of all of us, at the expense of this planet. So what we're doing here, blockading Australia, the idea is to hit choke points in the economic, political and social systems that allow the machine that we call Australia to keep on spinning. The idea is to get in the way with our bodies, create little cracks in this illusion that this world is going to continue. I really appreciate your time with me today. I ask that you come to us in Sydney, June 27th, join in with what's going on. I ask that you take a moment to listen to what I've said and allow yourself to actually feel the emotion. And I really hope that you allow that to propel you into action. Now, this is